The mockery begins, the crystalline spires of the stellar dominance. Councils stretch toward the artificial sky of Station Omega 7, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Within the grand amphitheater, representatives from 47 different species gathered for what had become the galaxy's most anticipated spectacle, the annual Predator trials. Commander Vexstar of the Hegemony stood at the central podium, his translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed authority to those who understood crystalline emotional displays. Around him, the assembled delegates created a symphony of chittering, growling, and harmonious tones as they discussed the upcoming trials in their native languages. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Vexstar's voice resonated through the universal. Translators, we gather once again to witness the apex of biological warfare. Each civilization presents their most fearsome predator, their ultimate expression of evolutionary perfection. In the diplomatic section reserved for newer species, Dr. Sarah Chen sat quietly, her dark eyes observing the proceedings with scientific curiosity. As Earth's first representative to the Stellar Dominance Council, she had spent months preparing for this moment. Her colleagues back on Earth had debated endlessly about which creature to send, but Sarah had remained surprisingly confident in her choice. The first presentation began with the Thurakian Empire. A massive holographic display materialized above the amphitheater, showing a creature that resembled a cross between a rhinoceros and a tank. The siege beast stood 12 feet tall, its armored hide capable of deflecting plasma rounds, and its horn could pierce through reinforced titanium. "Behold, the siege beast of Thorak Prime," announced the Thorakian delegate, a being whose multiple arms gestured dramatically, capable of surviving in the vacuum of space, immune to radiation, and possessing the strength to crush starship hulls. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the audience. The siege beast was indeed impressive, having won the trials twice in the past decade. Next came the Vaporous Collective, presenting what appeared to be a shifting cloud of toxic gas with glowing neural clusters. The dissolution entity could phase through solid matter and dissolve organic compounds at the molecular level. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the hologram demonstrated its ability to liquefy a steel barrier in seconds. The presentations continued for hours. The Arachnoid Syndicate showcased their webweaver, a creature capable of spinning molecular thin threads stronger than carbon nanotubes. The Scaled Dominion presented the plasma worm, which could generate internal temperatures hot enough to melt through ship armor. Each creature was more terrifying than the last, representing millions of years of evolutionary arms races on worlds where only the most lethal survived. When it came time for Earth's presentation, the amphitheater fell silent. This was the moment many had been waiting for, the chance to see what the backwater planet could offer compared to the galactic elite. Dr. Chen stood slowly, her movements calm and deliberate. She was unremarkable by galactic standards. No natural armor, no venomous appendages, no ability to phase through matter or survive in hard vacuum. Just a human in a simple diplomatic uniform, carrying a small datapad. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the amphitheater. "Earth is grateful for the opportunity to participate in this ancient tradition." Several alien delegates exchanged what passed for amused glances among their species. The Thorakian representative made a sound that the translators rendered as laughter. "We have studied your world's fauna extensively," Commander Vexter interjected, his bioluminescent patterns shifting to what Sarah's briefings had identified as barely contained mirth. Your so-called apex predators are ... quaint. A new holographic display materialized, showing Earth's most famous predators. A pride of lions lounging in the African sun drew chuckles from the audience. A great white shark, impressive in Earth's oceans but helpless on land, elicited more pronounced amusement. A grizzly bear, powerful but slow, caused several delegates to make sounds of dismissal. Your tigers sleep 20 hours a day, observed the delegate from the razor swarm, whose own species never slept and could process thoughts at superhuman speeds. Your eagles, while possessing keen eyesight, would be blind compared to our quantum hawks. And your wolves, added the vaporous collective's representative, hunt in packs because individually they are too weak to survive. The amphitheater erupted in what could generously be called laughter, though the variety of sounds produced by 47 different species created a cacophony that was more unsettling than amusing to human ears. Sarah weathered the storm of mockery with remarkable composure, occasionally making notes on her datapad. Announcer Krillix, a famous media personality whose 12 tentacles allowed him to operate multiple recording devices simultaneously, floated closer to the human section. His broadcast was being transmitted to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Folks, what we're witnessing here is either the greatest act of courage in galactic history, or the most spectacular case of self-deception ever recorded, announced, his voice carrying the practiced enthusiasm of someone who had commentated on gladiatorial events for decades. The humans appear to believe they have something that can compete with the likes of the dissolution entity or the plasma worm. More laughter rippled through the amphitheater. The betting pools that had opened before the trials showed Earth's representative with odds, so long that most bookmakers had stopped taking wagers altogether. Commander Vextar's crystalline form pulsed with what Sarah recognized as condescending amusement. Dr. Chen, surely you understand the nature of these trials. This is not a competition of intelligence or technology. This is about raw biological supremacy, the ability to kill, to survive, to dominate through evolutionary perfection. I understand perfectly, Sarah replied, her voice steady, and I believe our representative will demonstrate exactly what you describe. This response caused another wave of laughter, louder than before. Even some of the more diplomatic species seemed unable to contain their amusement at the humans' apparent delusion. The arachnoid delegate clicked its mandibles in what their species considered polite mockery. Perhaps you misunderstood the selection criteria. We are not looking for the most intellectually curious creature, or the one with the most complex social structure. We seek pure predatory excellence, the kind of creature, added the scaled dominion representative, that other predators flee from instinctively, something that embodies the very concept of apex predation. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. I believe our representative embodies exactly that concept, though perhaps not in the way you might expect. She tapped her datapad, and a new holographic display appeared. Instead of showing Earth's representative, it displayed a simple transport container, unremarkable, unadorned, and roughly the size of a large suitcase. This is your champion. Commander Vextar's bioluminescent patterns now clearly showed confusion mixed with derision. A box. The container is simply for transport, Sarah explained calmly. Our representative prefers to make its own introductions. The amphitheater fell into a strange quiet, broken only by the subtle mechanical sounds of life support systems and recording equipment. Several delegates leaned forward, their curiosity overcoming their amusement. Krilik's tentacles writhed with excitement as he sensed a potential story developing. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications, it appears we may be witnessing either an unprecedented upset or the most spectacular failure in trial history. The trials themselves were scheduled to begin in 3 standard galactic days, giving each species time to transport their representatives to the combat arena on the nearby moon. As the session concluded, delegates began filing out, their conversations a mix of anticipation and continued mockery. The Thracian delegate approached Sarah as she gathered her materials. "Human," he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had witnessed dozens of these competitions. "I have seen many species make the mistake of overestimating their biological achievements. The trials are not forgiving to those who cannot adapt quickly to unexpected threats." "I appreciate the warning," Sarah replied genuinely, "but I believe our representative has demonstrated remarkable adaptability throughout its evolutionary history." As the amphitheater emptied, Sarah remained seated, reviewing her notes and preparing for the days ahead. She knew that every eye in the galaxy would be watching when Earth's champion finally emerged from its transport container. The mockery would continue right up until the moment of revelation, and she was counting on that mockery to work in their favor. 3 days later, the combat arena on Moonbase Alpha Prime filled with spectators from across the galaxy. The circular arena, designed to accommodate various atmospheric requirements, could be rapidly reconfigured to simulate different planetary environments. Energy barriers protected the audience while allowing clear viewing of the proceedings. Commander Vextar took his position at the primary observation deck, surrounded by the various delegates and media representatives. The betting pools had remained. Remarkably stable Earth's representative was still considered the longest shot in trial history. **. The honey badgers revenged the transport containers began arriving at the arena in order of species registration. Each container was a marvel of engineering, designed to maintain perfect environmental conditions for its occupant. The container resembled a small fortress, complete with armor plating and warning symbols. The Vaporous Collective's containment unit required specialized magnetic fields to maintain cohesion. The arachnoid transport looked like a massive, metallic egg, pulsing with biorhythmic patterns. Then came Earth's container. It was wooden. The arena fell silent as maintenance crews carefully positioned what appeared to be a simple wooden crate next to the other high-tech containment systems. No visible life support, no environmental controls, no warning labels in any galactic language. Just a plain wooden box with metal clasps that looked like something a human might use to transport vegetables. "Ladies and beings," Krilik announced, his voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. "It appears Earth has taken a minimalist approach to transportation. I'm receiving reports that their container passed all safety inspections, though our scanners detected only standard organic materials." Commander Vextar's crystalline form pulsed with patterns that clearly conveyed disbelief. "Dr. Chen, surely this cannot be your actual submission. Perhaps there was an error in transport." Sarah stood in the diplomatic viewing area, her expression serene. "No error, Commander. Our representative prefers simple accommodations. The first trial was scheduled to begin with voluntary demonstrations. Each species would have the opportunity to showcase their predators' abilities in a controlled environment before the actual combat trials began. This allowed viewers to appreciate the full scope of biological diversity while building anticipation for the competitive rounds. The Thracian siege beast emerged first, its massive form causing the arena floor to vibrate with each step. It demonstrated its armor by walking through a simulated plasma bombardment, its high deflecting energy that would have vaporized most organic matter. The audience responded with appreciative sounds as the creature's horn effortlessly pierced through a titanium alloy target. The dissolution entity followed, its gaseous form shifting through various barrier configurations while dissolving increasingly complex materials. Watching it reduce a complex polymer structure to base molecules in mere seconds drew gasps from even the most jaded observers. Each demonstration was more impressive than the last. The webweaver created an intricate trap that could have ensnared a small spacecraft. The plasma worm melted through 6 inches of reinforced ceramic with a single breath. By the time 17 species had demonstrated their champions, the arena's environmental systems were working at maximum capacity to clear the various toxins, heat signatures, and molecular residues. Finally, it was Earth's turn. The wooden container was placed in the center of the arena, looking absurdly simple compared to the technological marvels that had preceded it. Every eye in the galaxy was focused on that plain wooden box, waiting to see what could possibly emerge that might compete with the biological weapons they had just witnessed. Dr. Chen activated her communication link to the arena control systems. "Please stand by for our demonstration." The clasps on the wooden container clicked open. For a moment, nothing happened. The arena was so quiet that the subtle hum of the life support systems seemed unnaturally loud. Then, slowly, the lid of the container began to rise. What emerged was approximately 2 feet long, covered in coarse black and white fur, with small, dark eyes and a distinctly unimpressive waddle. It looked around the arena with what appeared to be mild interest, sniffed the air once, and then began investigating its immediate surroundings with the casual attitude of a creature that had just woken up from a nap. The silence in the arena stretched on for nearly 30 seconds before it was broken by what could only be described as the galactic equivalent of confused laughter. That ... Commander Vexstar, bioluminescent patterns flickered erratically. That is your apex predator. Krillix's tentacles writhed in what his species considered barely contained hilarity. Folks, I've been covering these trials for 2 centuries, and I can honestly say I have never seen anything quite like this. Earth appears to have sent us. Well, I'm not entirely sure what we're looking at. The creature, apparently unbothered by the attention, had discovered the remains of the titanium target that the siege beast had destroyed. It began investigating the metal shards with the focused intensity of a creature that found everything in its environment potentially interesting. The delegate from the Razor Swarm made a sound that roughly translated to, "Is it defective?" While the Vaporous Collective's representative asked, "Did they perhaps send us a juvenile by mistake?" Dr. Chen's voice cut through the growing murmur of confusion and amusement. "What you are observing is a honey badger, specifically Capensis, from Earth's African continent. A honey badger." The Thurakian delegate's universal translator seemed to struggle with the concept. "It appears to subsist on sweet substances. How is this relevant to predatory trials?" "I would be happy to arrange a demonstration," Sarah replied calmly. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the arena. The honey badger had apparently decided that the energy barrier protecting the audience looked interesting, and had begun investigating it with its claws. The barrier, designed to withstand plasma bombardment and molecular acid attacks, was showing signs of stress as the small creature systematically tested different approaches to breaching it. "Security to arena floor," Krillix announced. though his voice carried more curiosity than concern. "We appear to have a minor containment issue." Two security drones descended into the arena, their sensors locked onto the honey badger. These drones were military-grade units, equipped with force fields, energy weapons, and capture nets designed to subdue even the most dangerous predators. They approached the honey badger with standard intimidation protocols, emitting warning sounds and displaying their weapons. The honey badger looked up at the approaching drones, tilted its head slightly as if considering the situation, and then attacked. What followed defied every expectation of every being in the arena. The small creature launched itself at the first drone with a speed and ferocity that caught the machine's targeting systems completely off guard. Its claws found purchase on the drone's armor plating, and within seconds it had torn through protective shielding that was rated to withstand military-grade assault weapons. The second drone activated its capture net, designed to contain creatures many times the honey badger's size. The honey badger became entangled for approximately 3 seconds before, somehow twisting free and immediately attacking the drone's propulsion system. Both security units crashed to the arena floor within minutes, their systems dismantled by an opponent they had not been programmed to recognize as a threat. The arena fell silent again, but this time the silence carried a very different quality. The honey badger, having dealt with what it apparently considered a minor interruption, returned to its investigation of the energy barrier as if nothing significant had occurred. Commander Baxter's bioluminescent patterns now displayed what Sarah recognized as carefully controlled alarm. "Dr. Chen, your creature has just destroyed military-grade security equipment." "Yes," Sarah replied simply. "Would you like to see what it does when it's actually motivated?" The formal trials began the next day, though the betting pools had undergone dramatic shifts overnight. Word of the honey badger's casual destruction of the security drones had spread throughout the galactic community, and suddenly Earth's representative was being discussed with considerably more interest and significantly less amusement. The trial format was straightforward: individual combat between representatives, with victory determined by either submission or incapacitation of the opponent. The arena could be configured to simulate various planetary environments, ensuring that no species had an unfair advantage based on atmospheric or gravitational preferences. The honey badger's first opponent was the crystalline shard beast, a creature that resembled a walking collection of razor-sharp crystal formations. It was beautiful to observe, deadly to encounter, and had never been defeated in individual combat. Its crystal shards could be launched at high velocity, and its body could reform after taking significant damage. The arena was configured to simulate a rocky desert environment, favoring neither opponent. The shard beast entered from one side, its crystal formations catching the artificial sunlight and creating prismatic displays across the arena floor. The honey badger entered from the opposite side, waddled toward the center, and sat down to observe its opponent with what appeared to be professional interest. The shard beast, recognizing a living target, began its attack pattern. Crystal shards launched toward the honey badger at velocities that would have been instantly lethal to most organic creatures. The honey badger, displaying reflexes that seemed impossible for its body structure, avoided the projectiles while simultaneously closing the distance to its opponent. What happened next was recorded by hundreds of cameras and would be analyzed by xenobiologists for years to come. The honey badger didn't simply fight the shard beast, it systematically dismantled it. Every attack the crystalline creature attempted was either avoided or turned against it. The honey badger's claws, which had seemed merely adequate for digging, proved capable of finding and exploiting structural weaknesses in crystal formations that military engineers would have needed detailed analysis to identify. Within 12 minutes, the shard beast was reduced to a pile of scattered crystal fragments, and the honey badger was investigating whether any of them might be edible. The arena erupted in sounds that defied translation. Some species were cheering, others were expressing alarm, and several seemed to be recalculating their understanding of biological possibility. "Ladies and beings," Krillix announced, his voice carrying a mixture of excitement and disbelief, "I believe we may need to revise our assumptions about Earth's biological development." The trials continued throughout the day, and the honey badger methodically defeated opponent after opponent. The plasma worm discovered that its heat-based attacks were ineffective against a creature that seemed genuinely unbothered by temperature extremes. The web weaver learned that its carefully constructed traps were merely puzzles to be solved rather than barriers to be feared. The dissolution entity found that some organic compounds were apparently immune to molecular breakdown when sufficiently motivated. By the end of the day, only 3 contestants remained: the honey badger, the Thurakian siege beast, and the vaporous collective's champion. The arena was filled to capacity, with emergency viewing areas opened to accommodate the crowds that had flocked to witness what was already being called the most remarkable trial in galactic history. The final match was against the siege beast, the creature that had won the trials twice before and was considered the pinnacle of biological warfare development. It entered the arena with its characteristic earth-shaking steps, its armor gleaming under the lights, its horn polished to a lethal point. The honey badger waddled out to meet it, looked up at the 12-foot-tall opponent, and began what appeared to be a systematic inspection of the creature's armor plating, apparently searching for optimal attack vectors. The battle lasted 47 minutes, and redefined everyone's understanding of what determination looked like. The siege beast possessed every advantage: size, armor, weapons, reach, and experience. The honey badger possessed something that had never been quantified in the trial records: an absolute refusal to acknowledge the possibility of defeat. Every time the siege beast knocked the honey badger across the arena, the small creature would get up, shake itself off, and resume its attack with undiminished enthusiasm. Every defensive strategy the siege beast employed was eventually overcome through persistence and ingenuity. When the honey badger finally found a weakness in the armor plating near the creature's joints, the end came quickly as the siege beast collapsed, its nervous system overwhelmed by toxins from the honey badger's bite. The arena fell into a stunned silence that lasted nearly a full minute. Commander Vexstar was the first to speak, his bioluminescent patterns cycling through colors that Sarah's briefings hadn't prepared her to interpret. "Dr. Chen, I believe I speak for the entire galactic community when I say that we may have significantly underestimated Earth's biological achievements." Sarah stood and activated her communication link to address the arena. "The honey badger represents something that I believe every species here can understand and respect: the refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. It doesn't win through superior size, advanced weapons, or evolutionary specializations. It wins because it never stops trying." She paused, looking around the arena at the assembled delegates from 47 different worlds. "Perhaps that's something we can all learn from." The honey badger, apparently satisfied with its victory, had found a comfortable spot in the artificial sunlight and was taking a nap. The cheering that erupted from the arena could be heard from orbit, Asterisk.